with the intention of supporting startups and innovative businesses, small and medium scale enterprises as well, in the fields of food, agriculture, tourism, wellness, and energy. And during the pandemic, we launched a very short-term response program called Stay Good in Business. And this is the first speaker session and knowledge sharing session that we are hosting under that program. So massive welcome to all of you for joining in. And I take the pleasure of introducing Dr. Giriraj Amarnath, the research group leader of Water and Development Resilience, and also together with Paul Eckley from IMI, who really partnered with us to make this session possible. So without further ado, I would like to invite Paul to make the official introduction to the speaker. But before that, I think a quick check on the house rules before we move into the presentation. Please keep your microphones on mute, everybody except the panelists. And we will open for question and answers soon after the session. And you can either type in your questions or raise your hands, and we will help you moderate it to the speaker. Thank you. Paul, over to you.
Thank you, Randula. Thanks all for joining on a Friday afternoon, just right before the weekend. It's a pleasure to see you all on the call. And personal note on this event is I did attend a few years ago to do my own startups, and I didn't succeed very well at that time. And the reason was the time to market, a notion that I learned back in the days. And I hope today, this event will offer you something that actually you can rely on, and we do have something to offer to you. Dr. Garage will present in a short while. But before we get started, I'd like to give a quick introduction of who we are at IMI, the International Water Management Institute. So I'm Paul Eckley. I recently joined in Sri Lanka here at the Institute as a scaling expert. So I will help and support the Research Institute to bring the technology to the field. So IMI is based, headquarters is based in Sri Lanka since 1984. We are present in 12 different countries, and we have more than 150 researchers present. And we're also part of a bigger network, which make our exposure global, part of the CGIAR Research Center, 15 research centers across the world. And our mission is really to provide water solution for sustainability towards the SDG goal. And why this event is to show you that we have technology in-house and we're a research center, but we need like-minded entrepreneur, private sector to help us to bridge this towards the ground and towards a bigger exposure. So without further notice, I think we'll dive right away into the topic today that bring us together for InsurTech. So I hope you'll find what you want, and we hope that we have a very fruitful discussion in the second part. And so, yep, Dr. Garage it's you for you the floor. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul, and good evening to everyone. And it's a very honor for me to give this presentation on behalf of International Water Management Institute. While this particular research of what we are presenting is done over 4 to 5 years, we would consolidate to give you in the next 10 minutes. And of course, there will be a lot of unanswered questions. We will be talk more in the follow-up of this presentation, or we can chat more together as we move on from this discussion. As Paul mentioned, this is an area where we look at over large years on how we manage this agriculture climate risk nexus in the disaster per se. And again, when we speak of disaster today, we have seen a large context of problem arises globally is the COVID, where while we are all staying in home, it has given a lot of hopes of what we could work and learn together, sitting in home and enjoying with the family. But equally, the CGR has come up with the new strategy of what the likely impact of COVID will look like, looking at the market systems, like what are the value chains that are going to be need to be addressed better in terms of the impact that the agriculture in the rural sectors will be affected already. And the second aspect is to look at, while we see a lot of COVID related issues, we are entering into the monsoon months. It means that there is likely event of multiple climate disasters can happen, and how the countries could manage that. We already see there is quite a bit of thunderstorms and cyclones are picked up in South Asia. So the government should make a critical role on how do we integrate these solutions better. And again, upon all that, living in urban communities, a lot of rural sectors are affected by the food security, access to food, in terms of quality water. And as we get out of the COVID, there will be a lot of issues around access to water for the agriculture systems. So the water demand will be an important area that the government will look at in the months to come. And once this floods or drought is going to come, there will be other issues of waterborne diseases will come. So as you look at these 5-6 areas, what is the bottleneck we could look at for the rural perspective is the climate safety net, and that's the scope of this presentation we are trying to talk today, is that looking at overall resilience, one of the broad umbrella we could look at is the safety net. Despite of all these measures, we might need to bring the role of insurance into the portfolio of risk management. That's the scope we are discussing today. And when we say insurance, it's all about the data. So if talk about in South Asia or else part of the developing countries, insurance penetration is almost very poor. Though there is more than 2 decades of experience several countries have done on weather index insurance, we still do not have a quality flood risk information. There is really, it comes with a huge burden on the cost for the modelers as well as the insurance companies. And we do not have really a quality fine scale damage information is also not available. So preparing any insurance solution needs credible data. That's the focus of this solution we are trying to discuss today. And the focus also we are looking at in IMI is looking at how do we insure the uninsured communities who are regularly affected by flood, where we speak of index-based flood insurance today. And also for people who have been having crop that are growing or in the stage of growing, it is important that we monitor the condition, whether it is affected by diseases, whether there is a calamity from floods or hailstorm. You could able to monitor using digital innovations, including satellite data. And I think the last point I would also like to say, with the COVID crisis, the government all is working out a better financial packages or a scheme for smallholder farmers. But again, I would like to see here the role of public-private partnership in a more constructive, and also bringing more startup companies who could really play a solution, because today there is lockdown, the disconnectivity is more, there are no mobility is happening. So ICT is a very fundamental information that we need to look in the days to come. What we have done in a small way is we have this AgRise group, what we call is agriculture remote sensing based insurance for security. Security is looking at, we want to know the right payout to be given, and the equity is look at everyone is equal here, from women, disadvantages group, marginalized communities, they are all have to be get this equal benefit of the solution. That's where we refer it as an AgRise. It's a small lab we have in our institute, and we have different investors so far from public and private partnership. And the goal is to come up with a social impactful solution, which we will talk about today, and also make it more commercially sustainable solution. It's not about talking about few pilots. How do we work with some distribution partners to scale up this solution? So speaking of this solution, we have an app is developed, application look at technologies using cloud-based system, monitoring the crop condition and its status as well, so that we know what's the problem the rural sectors are facing when they are growing in a particular period. So we could able to monitor and track this solution here. So far, we have worked with 6 different insurance companies in India and Bangladesh on testing this. And we equally provided always such data set for the reinsurer as well, because when they get a lot of claims from the insurer, they also want to track that whether really the claim is genuine or not. So using high resolution products will help them to track the more on the payout, what is going to look like. The other solution is that always when we provide an insurance, it's not about that there will be a crop loss will come and the farmers will get some payout. We are not looking into that solution alone. We look at more comprehensively, looking at how we embed more agriculture inputs into the system itself. So here we focus on can we provide a better forecast information to the farmers, what's a likely crop calendar they are going to grow, so that we can prepare a right kind of seeds to the farmers in the areas where they are floods or drought, and also sensing that crop, what stage they are and how they look like. So we refer this as a bundling insurance solution. We have tested in drought and flood prone regions in India so far, and it has been a partial success so far. And again, to speaking about more on this solution is where we are looking at more aggregator or venturing partnership. That is where this forum we would like to discuss in detail today, and how we can work together and scale up this solution. That's where we have come up with this business model. And IMI is not more like an implementer. We work with a lot of partners, both from development partners to the government agencies, and a number of venturing partners in India and Bangladesh. So as an example, we look at mainly the global issues and as well as the local issues on adaptation, and put up the product like bundle solution, which I'm just referring here, where we work with a lot of partners, including seed companies, fertilizers, and the insurance company. And we work with a distribution partner, in this case, joint venturing agencies who could work these solutions across with the farmers collectively. And then when the compensations happens, the insurance company directly do the payout to the farmers, whether it is an individual farmer or it's a group of mesoscale product where it aggregates and provide a solution to the communities directly. So far, we have done only a micro scale product. We don't have a meso scale product, but it's all we are looking into the venturing solutions with microfinancing companies or any other international organization who could scale up the solution. Speaking of that venturing, we have two set of products we have with us. The index-based flood insurance, which has been tested over 2,300 households, and we had a payout over 55,000 US dollar, and indirectly benefited over 50,000 because through community awareness, enriching the policies in the Prime Minister Crop Insurance Scheme, where we are working closely with the government of Bihar, how we can scale up this. And again, the technology when we speak of is again open access. The data is very critical here. Today we have European space agencies which can provide SAR-based satellite data which can penetrate a cloud and determine whether the areas are likely flooded or not. And we have a modeling tools that determines the depth and duration of that. So as this biophysical element, the flood characterization informations are publicly available, it provides an opportunity for venturing collaboration to look at how we scale and provide solutions that can meet quickly and rapidly providing a claim out, rather than a traditional method where after the flood recede, it takes several months for the compensation team to evaluate and provide even the payout by the time the season is lost. So how quick we will be to support them in the next planting season. So that's one of the solution. The other solution is basically the purely on a remote sensing based monitoring crop system. We have done for a number of products. We have briefed, and this was launched by the CEO of Prime Minister Crop Insurance Scheme early last year. And as a result of the solution, we have estimated for an insurance company like Bajaj in a 2016 flood, over 30 million US dollar was estimated for a flood that reported in the first Prime Minister Crop Insurance Scheme that started in 2018. In terms of benefits from all this solution, what we see is that we would like to engage with more partners, and because it enables a technology which is robust and transparent, and it is more seamless in terms of providing a backend solution, because you have open access, publicly available data sets are available. And then again, if a government want to really audit the solution, they could know where there is a payout is given, which are the targeted communities have been benefited in this. And then it becomes really a business model for number of agencies or the ventures which would like to scale up this in the years to come. And in my last closing point is that I would like to see that the values we work together looks at 4 different areas, coming up with the real social impact we are addressing. and providing collaborative innovation. It's not just only about IMI. We work with a lot of partners, including Weather Risk Management Service Limited in India. We also work with the government agencies, the insurance companies. As we work with different stakeholders, the innovations becomes much more robust. And I think we have always one area we look at is the value chain, which is not spoken a lot in my talk, because when we provide a right kind of a seed and provided a good advisory, they might come up with a good yield, but it depends on the market in terms of the pricing, whether the farmers will get a good payout or not. And all but not least is about transparency is very important, whom we give and how much we give the payout, and what solutions we are offering across this group of communities when we speak about. And as a next step, what we are looking is what is our venturing we would like to discuss, like in collaboration with the discussion we are going to have today, and also how we improve the platform we have. It's not that we have the best system with us, but how do we learn together and make it more social impactful solution. And we have certain milestones or the target we have in fundraising in the next 2 years, and happy to work together and learn from you this today. And thank you so much for having you with us. And I also thank my partners, including CGR Water, Land and Ecosystem, and the CCAF for supporting this initiative. Thank you. Yeah.
So thank you, Gary Raj. Very interesting. I think it's time for an exchange. So do not hesitate right now to drop us a question, either directly. We leave you a voice, and or you can use the Q&A, which is down your window.
Yeah, I think we've got a question from Kalidasan. He says he's in the tourism and hospitality industry, and one of their community bases tour products which they're focusing on implementing and making a herbal organic garden as a tourist visiting point in the east coast of Sri Lanka, Batiklo. And because they're in the initial stage of starting point, what is your advice for them, and how can they get guided by aiming to make it a successful project?
So to answer this question, I think I would go back to one of the technology that we have available at IMI. It's called the RRR, and it's helping to use human waste to actually create fertilizer. We have a MOOC which is available online, and this is part of technology that we developed over the years. And we have also a very strong business model explained behind that. But I guess it's also a good opportunity to approach GLX Accelerator to see how they can advise them or advise you on how to make your business model and make it stable. And we're happy, and this is already available for you to look at the technology. So let me show you the MOOC link in the chat. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have further question on that.
Kalidasan, does that answer your question? You can just type it in the chat. We have another question as well from Shyamal Adhikari. What are the variables that your platform passes to reinsurers?
Should I respond that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So thanks. That's a very good question. In terms of working arrangement with the reinsurers, while we design the product, we know what's the parameters that helps them to design a solution. So during for an example, like index-based flood insurance, it is something to do with the stage of the flood and the days of inundation, along with the historical loss information that help them to design a product. So as these designs have been developed with an insurance, and the insurance company work with the reinsurer, it becomes more like a term sheet and a guiding structure for them during the claim process. So it is up to the insurer working directly with the reinsurer. From an organization like IMI, we provide more technical information to them, and they work with the catastrophic model to design the background systems on the claim, the pricing side, etc. So more can come from the insurer perspective to respond to this.
Okay. There's another question from an anonymous attendee. They want to clarify whether we will be providing the seeds or seed companies, and does this entail GMO seeds by any chance?
Yeah. So again, to take this question, we work with the agriculture research institutions in the countries we work. For example, in the case of the seeds, we have given a trial in bundling solution. It was confirmed by the national seed companies by the government of India, which are already tested and trialed. So it does not have any the substance of biotechnology related stuff, but more looking at the resistance powers of excess moisture or deficit. So the answer is that this is the seed that is certified by the government, and those are available with the national seed company, which have been used for the solutions which we have presented today.
Okay, thank you. There's another question from Prakash. High density data on weather is available in some places. I think the lack of common platform and keeping persons with experience out of loop is a bottleneck along with lack of funds. Any plan to address this issue?
Yes, I think it's a very common topic, Mr. Prakash, when we speak about the huge density of data put by both public and private sector. Your message is very clear that it is this data sets are available. For example, the state like Karnataka in India, we have 6,000 automatic weather stations. So how do we make sure this data is being utilized efficiently, for which a platform what you are addressing is very need of the hour. When this becomes open access, then we can look at the value chain of this data. So I would really see that IMI has not really played a big role on working in this with the government sector, but we are coming up with a new open data cube where we are integrating both a combination of field with the complementary remote sensing data. That kind of a solutions will make it more publicly accessible, and it becomes that the data becomes unilaterally accessible by all the sectors. So in a way, this is a work in progress from our side, but a lot more need to be done on that.
So we have another comment from Mr. Prakash. He says, we need to develop laterals, about 8,000 rain gauges and 1,000 water stations in Karnataka.
So again, to clarify here, IMI is not really looking at some sort of support in strengthening this weather stations or anything. We have a low-cost weather station prototype that has been tested by our colleagues in IMI. But important what we look at is how the government empower themselves in scaling these weather stations by themselves. Once this data becomes accessible, we provide solutions on aggregating this data, whether it is on the insurance aspect, whether it is on agriculture water management, like number of our researchers are working. So we don't per se look at this particular aspect of, but obviously we could able to optimize how much number of weather stations are required, looking at a watershed, looking at the agroecological condition, how reliable, because a lot of weather stations are too many in some places, and in some locations they are too less. So we need to really come with a distributed mechanism of where the stations are needed and how much is needed. Then we could have a better understandings on that.
Thank you, Giriraj. We've got another question from Mr. Shaman Adhikari. He's asking how accurate the final index is for reinsurers to predict the outcome.
Yes, I think this is again a very good question. I can just draw upon our experience in Bangladesh and also in India, but given the limited time, I would go with Indian case, where when the product is developed, generally the reinsurer requires at least for 20 to 25 years of data, look at both the good event and the bad event of a crisis, and then they work with a lot more secondary data as well. And what happens when the design is developed, they do trials in the pseudo simulations, working directly with the farmers, reaching out to the client, whether this product has a merit or not. So after the trials are done and more consultations are done, this becomes a live product. And of course, it also allow us to look at threshold optimization if the trials are not coming very well. That's where we put more into early pilots rather than just starting with the millions of farmers to reach, but show a clear evidence to the solution whether it could meet the requirements or not. So insurer or reinsurer generally don't go to accuracy if it is less than 90%. Minimum accuracy, they would talk about very high accurate products. So we have taken care of that part of that.
Thank you, Mr. Giraj. Prakash has asked you another question. He wants to know, apart from the data, what are the other bottlenecks that are faced?
I think, yes, it is again a very relevant question. Looking at many countries, we have technology, we have today open access data, but then there is no um, good policies are available on agriculture insurance or even the data access policy. So one is looking at, there are many countries still look at, I can provide more compensations after the flood, but I'm not really interested on the insurance. So the mindset of investing prior to the crisis, like that's where the preparedness strategies will come. Insurance can come in more to support them. So it's more like more giving a cultural barriers of how they understand the values of insurance. It's not just insurance as a per se to collect premiums and make benefit for private sector, but more to ensure that the private sector equally understand that the credit of the model, the payout is very important for them as well. So we look at a lot more problems in this when we begin to pilot this kind of a product. But again, the answer is there is lot more need to be done from both the public and private if you want to really go forward. And again, the lenders, when we speak about the banking, the agriculture banks itself, they don't generally look at a more beyond life insurance. So currently, every portfolio for them, the lending is usually for the loan for the life insurance. So we need to even change the mindset of the cooperative banks, agriculture banks. I think to some extent, there are countries in Africa playing a big role. And I think it's more of learning each other and how do we improve this beyond the data solutions. Yes, Shalindri?
Yes. Right now, okay, there's another question. Says, how would you support smallholder farmers and agroforests? These are both more climate resilient, of course, because of regenerative farming practices.
We may not have a good experience on agroforest, but some of our CGR partners are working on this particular field. We can touch base and put you in touch. Please do share your email address. But again, we look more into farmers where there is a issues of in the agricultural landscape, wherein we didn't really bring in the complexity of both agroforestry issues alone. Yeah, but open for discussions with you and put you in connection with our other partners in our CG system.
Thank you. There's another question. What has been the loss ratio in the pilot projects? And two, if the data is put on open source, what is the economic benefit for data providers?
Yes. So again, in terms of loss ratio, if it is more relevant to the claim versus payout you are talking about, number of farmers enrolled and how much payout is given, I'm not sure is it going to that part. Then I would say that we have got about 40% to 45% of the payout has been given out of the 11,000 farmers we have insured. So and again, what we have also seen that the payout has been increasing each year because we have been also improving the product. One with a lot of high resolution data sets we have been using now, so that the insurer are really looking at the quality data to give the right compensation. So the loss ratio we are trying to improve. And again, in regard to your second question, I can't see now. Can someone repeat on that? Yeah, this is about the data. What's the economic benefit? I think take example like an example in the U.S. Congress, where the Landsat USGS has released it way back in 2000, where they estimated that there can be a additional income or economic benefit of over $3 trillion. Now, those days when the Landsat was selling the data for $200, today the entire IT companies, the chip companies, they are all making a huge millions and billions of dollars, because when you open the satellite data open, it means there will be other spin-off of infrastructures will open equally. The same thing we also see in the weather station as well. If we are installing weather station, we will be getting a lot of types of data collected in the field instruments that can be used by a number of agencies, not just insurer. I would say that it will be really exponential growth if we make it really open access. That's an example like US Geological Survey done for the Landsat product.
Yeah, so I think there are a lot of other questions coming in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, wait, we do have another one. Shali, I'll go after this one, I guess.
So Mr. Giriraj, there's one more question from Mr. Prakash. Premium and payouts are as important, and in my opinion, more important than data.
Yes. So I would say that still, if you want to really understand the premium and the payout, it depends on the type of quality data you have in house. Yes, premium is very important. I think that's the equal job of insurance company to look at. But insurance companies can only prepare a premium and the payout if there is a credible data is available with them. So imagine in the 1990s when the first weather index insurance was started, one particular station which covers a radius of over 70 kilometers. So there will be a lot of challenges on each and every farmers will have a same premium and the payout will be same. But if within that grid of 70 kilometers, there will be a different degree of risk. There will be a different degree of damages. Today, when we have that kind of a flexibility of having more weather station, it becomes very good for us to evaluate where there is a right payout, what kind of premium you can optimize for an X farmer compared to a different farmer. So I would still see that data is fundamentally important. The premium and the payout will come in a more secondary way, in my opinion.
So Dr. Giriraj, thanks again. I just had a quick question from my side as well regarding the data collection and the services required to make your product and your service better. So what are the kind of like gaps that you or challenges that you guys face, and what are possible kind of actions entrepreneurs can take to kind of fill in this gap and make it a more holistic system?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a very good, Sanch, it's a very good question. I would say that in the last 15, 20 years, we got a very credible high resolution data, the social data, the mobility data, all are very good. But when you talk about the vulnerability, the agriculture census, if you want to really look at the yield model of a given village or a particular farmer, we don't have a data. And if you want to really come with a good flood risk model, we do not really have a flood riverine models are available for a country like even Sri Lanka. So we are started to begin with number of climate resilience project in Sri Lanka. I think a lot of data are started ingesting now. And I think this is the right time that agencies like you are venturing with the new partners who could play with this data and look at how this is more credible, what kind of big data solutions we can work together in the years to come. But other than that, as I said, if you talk about the farmer specific information, crop specific information, we don't have really a very robust data in place. But again, we could use some machine learning algorithms to really look at the scenarios that can develop, and more need to learn from that process. Did I answer your question, Sanch?
You did, yeah. Thank you very much. I think we have another question from the attendees. Shali?
Yes, another question to you from Prakash, Mr. Giriraj. With very high density data, I was finding it difficult to tailor premium and payout. As chairman of the state level committee on weather-based crop insurance needs deliberation.
I would say we can keep off this discussion. Please do write to us. We can discuss with you. But again, this needs really a good reinsurer to step in and come up with some stochastic model to look at what are the wealth of this data can be useful to design a robust system. Otherwise, from my experience, limited experience on this field, I don't have much knowledge on that, but I can put you in touch with a number of our reinsurer colleagues who could help you on this questions you are addressing now.
Okay. I think that's all the questions for now.
Great. Paul, would you like to add anything in closing? And Dr. Giriraj, I think that was great response from the participants as well, in a very engaging way. Anything you want to add in closing, Paul or Dr. Giriraj?
Garage, yeah. I also have a question on my side. If you're a young startup today and you're quite passionate and you have this obsessed idea about being in InsurTech, what would be the first step you would recommend to them to do in terms of engaging with your technology?
I'm sorry, I think you're on
Yeah,
mute.
I have muted it. So I was, Paul, I was saying that it is a lot to do with the venturing partners. What is a real one specific problems we want to begin with? So yes, we have tested some of these technologies in different part of the region, but when it comes to customization, tailoring the need of the solution for a particular client, we might need to look at what are the gaps exist in this areas. So we might need to do a lot more initial desktoping studies, and how do we make it more cost effective as well? Because often when we go to many regions, even if you talk about a $10 premium with $3-4 of a seed, there are still some challenges around that, even the pricing side. So unless we don't really convey to each and every stakeholder, even the farmers might be investing over $800 to $1,000 for each of the season, but they are reluctant to even put a quality seeds. They might think that's a quality seed, but it might be more of a hybrid seed, but not a climate resilient seed. So we might need to have a lot more capacity to be strengthened. And I think many of the ventures that are started, a number of people I could see in the attendees who are here, they have started their own startup in Sri Lanka, like Tilan is working in tea companies, who is developing his own product there. So we might need such people to step in more and start working with the new investors and take forward. And IMI is more not as an implementer. IMI will help them in the knowledge building, more on technologies to buy in. But again, we are not a tech savvy groups, but we could also bring in more other tech giants who could support them.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was my closing question.
Great. So I think we can close with that. Thank you once again to everybody who participated. A very special thank you to the team organizing this, San Shali, for making this partnership happen smoothly with IMI, led by Paul, and lastly, but not at all the least, to Dr. Giriraj for putting this presentation together and taking time to share all the knowledge and expertise. I think if we have any further inquiries coming in who wants to tap into your network or your knowledge, we'll direct them, channel them directly to you to take the conversation forward.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Nandita, and all the participants for attending this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thank you,
evening and
everybody.
stay safe.
Have a good evening and a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.